King Charles, you've got to get her off that royal website. And I'm not even joking now, because Meghan Markle has now formally endorsed one of the biggest online trolls of Catherine, the Princess of Wales. This is the care package to the notorious JTB. And trust me, Markle knows exactly what this man is all about and how despicable he is. So this was the boast from the notorious JTB, which has stunned everyone because Meghan's front is just unbelievable. The Duchess sent me a gift. I am not exaggerating when I say this was nowhere on my 2026 bingo card. Not ours, mate, either. She's lost it.
For years, Meghan Markle has publicly presented herself as someone deeply concerned about online behavior, digital responsibility, and the impact social media can have on people's lives. She has spoken about the risks of online negativity, appeared at events focused on safer online spaces, and repeatedly emphasized the importance of accountability in the digital world. But now, an unexpected controversy has emerged that has left even some longtime critics surprised. The reason? A reported personal gift package sent by Meghan Markle to one of the most talked about royal commentators on social media. The situation gained attention after an online commentator known as JTB publicly revealed that he had received a package that he said came from Meghan. According to his own post, the gift included a handwritten note, leaving him genuinely shocked by the gesture.
She is endorsing them, and she is also then endorsing their vile behavior to continue, encouraging others to follow suit in hope they might get a phone call, they might get a free ticket, they might be invited to the Invictus Games, they might get a care package.
His reaction quickly caught attention online. "The Duchess sent me a gift," he wrote. "I'm not exaggerating when I say this was nowhere on my 2026 bingo card. Completely stunned, completely grateful. Thank you, Meghan." By itself, the gift may not have generated much discussion, but the identity of the recipient quickly changed the conversation. Because JTB is not simply another supporter account. He has spent years posting content that is highly critical of members of the royal family, particularly Catherine, Princess of Wales. His online activity has frequently sparked strong reactions among royal followers.
We have a ludicrous situation where a former member of the royal family who claims to be all about online welfare is now backing one of the biggest internet trolls of Catherine, the Princess of Wales. This is unsustainable.
With critics arguing that some posts move beyond commentary and become overly personal. That's exactly why Meghan's reported gesture has triggered such a strong response. And once people began examining JTB's online history more closely, the debate became even more intense. According to reports and commentary from critics, JTB has often shared posts criticizing Catherine, discussing her public appearances, and questioning aspects of her role within the royal family. One example frequently referenced by critics involved Catherine's return to public life following her medical treatment.
And just a reminder, this is one of the posts that the notorious JTB recently endorsed. Look, being a future king and ending up with the uglier, less talented wife must be a gut punch. That was quite soon after Catherine emerged following her cancer.
Around that time, JTB reportedly interacted with content that drew criticism for making negative comparisons about her. The post generated backlash because many people felt it was unnecessarily personal during a sensitive period. Another post also attracted attention after a media outlet praised Catherine for handling challenging conditions during a public engagement. Rather than focusing on the event itself, JTB reportedly responded with criticism that many viewed as personal rather than constructive. Critics argue that when a public figure known for speaking against online negativity publicly acknowledges someone whose online content has generated repeated controversy, questions are bound to follow.
But if you don't believe that this guy is actually an out-and-out troll, I want to show you, and I've covered this on the show before, but it's important I remind you because this guy is a troll. He's not a commentator, he is a troll. Look at what he said about my beloved Lady Colin Campbell.
The discussion became even more heated because JTB's criticism has not been limited to Catherine alone. Over the years, he has also targeted several well-known royal commentators and supporters. Among those frequently mentioned by critics are Angela Levin, members of the Royal News Network community, and royal author Lady Colin Campbell. In one particularly controversial exchange, JTB reportedly posted a lengthy criticism of Lady Colin Campbell, focusing on her background, personality, and opinions rather than simply challenging her arguments.
Talk about the corpse formerly known as Lady Colin Campbell, who speaks about Meghan and Harry with a level of rage that sounds like it's been fermenting since the 1800s. Every time she opens her mouth, you can practically hear the cobwebs shaking off her opinions.
That post became another example cited by critics who believe his commentary often crosses into deeply personal territory. As these examples began circulating online again, attention quickly shifted away from the gift itself and toward a much bigger question. How much does Meghan actually know about the people who publicly support her online? It's a question that has followed her for years. As more discussion emerged around JTB's online activity, criticism surrounding Meghan's reported gift continued to grow. The reason was straightforward. People were no longer talking about an ordinary supporter account.
That is the man who Meghan Markle is sending a handwritten note to. Get her off! Get her off the royal family website. I've had enough.
They were discussing someone whose social media history had already made him one of the most debated figures in royal-related online discussions. Over recent months, JTB has repeatedly shared or interacted with content critical of senior members of the royal family, particularly Catherine, Princess of Wales. One of the most frequently discussed examples came after Catherine gradually returned to public duties following her medical treatment.
Is barely able to survive the bullying and predation of the online world and the dangers that these platforms bring. How is a child? So speak up. Demand better from the platforms shaping our children's lives.
At a time when much of the public conversation focused on her recovery and return to work, JTB reportedly interacted with content that made negative comparisons about her appearance and abilities. The post quickly attracted criticism because many observers felt it had little to do with Catherine's work, charitable efforts, or public responsibilities. Instead, critics viewed it as unnecessarily personal. For many people following the discussion, the timing made the reaction even more controversial. After spending an extended period away from public life due to health concerns, Catherine's return generated widespread support. Yet instead of focusing on that return, some online conversations shifted toward personal remarks.
Are your children proud of you supporting a bully who has gone after Princess Catherine and the royal family? This bully has also targeted royal supporters, and you're sending care packages? Stop lecturing about anti-bullying and stop supporting them.
That many people felt were unfair and unhelpful. The debate didn't end there. In another example often highlighted by critics, JTB reportedly reacted to media coverage of Catherine attending a public engagement where she confidently navigated difficult ground while wearing heels. The original coverage was largely lighthearted and focused on the practical challenge of the moment. JTB's reported response took a different direction. Rather than discussing the engagement itself, he allegedly mocked the situation and dismissed the coverage in a way that critics viewed as personal. Again, critics argued that this wasn't a debate about public policy, royal finances, or constitutional matters. It was personal commentary. And that distinction has become a major part of the debate now surrounding Meghan's reported gesture. The concerns raised by critics extend beyond Catherine. According to various commentators, JTB has also directed criticism toward royal commentators, journalists, and online creators who have publicly disagreed with Meghan and Harry. Among those frequently mentioned is royal author and commentator Lady Colin Campbell. At one point, JTB reportedly published a lengthy post criticizing Lady Colin Campbell personally, rather than focusing solely on her arguments. According to critics, the post questioned her motivations, challenged her perspective, and portrayed her criticism of Meghan and Harry in highly negative terms.
When are people going to wake up? She is endorsing the Sussex squad, but this is the biggest endorsement yet.
And of course, more recently, you've got with Meghan going over to Australia, Zandy Sussex, the one that called herself the chief lieutenant. You know, she's absolutely vile and horrific and has done so many attacks on the Princess of
And
Wales.
she still may have been there, Tash.
And she still may have been there. And then, of course, you've now got this guy. This is three separate attempts, well, not attempts, three separate people that have proven that Meghan is not just aware of what the Sussex squad are doing. She is actively endorsing it. This is an encouragement to the rest of them to continue.
That example has since become another key part of the wider debate surrounding his online presence. And whether people agree with Lady Colin Campbell or not was almost beside the point. Critics argue that a similar pattern reportedly appeared in JTB's interactions with other royal commentators as well. Individuals who regularly defend the royal family or openly criticize the Sussexes have often found themselves on the receiving end of mockery, sharp criticism, or heated online exchanges. For years, most of these disputes remained largely confined to social media. But the focus changed because of what allegedly happened afterward. The controversy gained momentum when JTB publicly claimed that Meghan had reached out through a gift package and handwritten note. That single claim transformed the entire discussion. Critics who once viewed the connection between public figures and online supporters as distant suddenly began asking whether this situation suggested something more direct. And that's where the story became especially complicated. Because JTB's opinions were not hidden from public view. His posts were public. His criticism of Catherine was public. His disputes with royal commentators were public. The conversations surrounding his account were public, which naturally led many critics to ask the same question. If regular royal followers were already familiar with his reputation, how could those around Meghan have been unaware? That question remains at the center of the debate. The more people reviewed JTB's posting history, the more some critics questioned whether the attention he received was entirely coincidental. And for Meghan, the timing has created another challenge.
And I'm not shocked because we've known about it for some time, but I'm shocked that she has been so blatant about it. But of course, she is being blatant because she and Harry believe they're untouchable because the king still has not taken any action to remove them from that website. There's been no further discussions about Harry's dukedom being taken.
Instead of headlines focusing on new projects or charitable initiatives, discussion has become dominated by questions surrounding her reported connection to one of the most controversial voices in royal-related social media discussions. Whether those concerns are fair or not, the conversation had already moved far beyond social media. It had become part of broader royal coverage. And once a story reaches that stage, it rarely disappears overnight. The controversy involving JTB would already be significant by itself, but for many royal observers, the larger issue involves Meghan's own public statements over the years, because that's where the discussion becomes far more layered. For a long time, Meghan has presented herself as a strong advocate for responsible online behavior. She has frequently spoken about the impact of online negativity, the challenges created by hostile digital environments, and the responsibility people carry when engaging on social media platforms. Those comments are well documented. In recent years, Meghan has participated in discussions focused on creating safer online spaces and addressing concerns related to cyberbullying and digital well-being.
Well. For years, Meghan has claimed she doesn't read social media and isn't aware of the conversations happening online about her. Yet somehow, she managed to find one of the most hateful anti-royal family accounts on X, send a gift, and include a personal handwritten note. Quite the miracle.
During one speech, she spoke passionately about the importance of encouraging more thoughtful behavior online and urged people to consider the impact of their actions on social media. She argued that many people struggle with online hostility and harassment, raising broader concerns about how vulnerable individuals can be when faced with those same challenges in digital spaces. The message was straightforward: online behavior matters. The content people share matters. The communities people support matter, and the choices made on social media can sometimes have real-world consequences. Because of those public statements, critics argue that the JTB controversy cannot simply be dismissed as a minor misunderstanding. The issue, they say, is not the reported gift itself. The issue is that the recipient had already developed a public reputation through criticism of members of the royal family and several of their supporters. That's why critics quickly began comparing Meghan's public messages about online responsibility with the controversial posts that have been linked to JTB over the years. Several royal commentators were quick to respond. One critic publicly questioned whether Meghan's family and supporters would be comfortable seeing her associated with someone accused of repeatedly targeting Catherine and other royal figures online. Others argued that public figures face increased scrutiny when their actions appear inconsistent with the values they publicly promote. The criticism was sharp, but it also reflected frustrations that have existed within royal discussions for years. For a long time, some critics have claimed that Meghan benefits from strong online support while maintaining distance from the individuals providing it. Whenever controversial pro-Sussex accounts become involved in online disputes, supporters often argue that Meghan cannot control what independent social media users choose to post.
He replied, LMAO. I can't. They've really reduced her to a bimbo with heels.
Technically, that is true. However, critics argue that the JTB situation feels different. This was not simply a random account posting opinions online. This was someone who publicly stated that he had received a gift and handwritten note reportedly connected to Meghan. That alleged personal connection changed the conversation completely. Suddenly, critics no longer viewed the situation as passive awareness. Instead, they viewed it as direct acknowledgement. And once that perception began spreading, older debates quickly resurfaced. Royal commentators started revisiting previous incidents involving prominent Sussex supporters who later appeared to receive recognition, attention, or interactions linked to Harry and Meghan. To critics, the pattern appeared increasingly familiar. Each situation could potentially be explained on its own. But when viewed collectively, some observers began asking whether these examples were truly isolated incidents. That question only became louder as discussions spread across royal-focused media and online platforms. Yet the growing debate showed no signs of slowing down. The reason was simple. JTB was not an unknown account with a hidden history. The posts that attracted criticism were public, the commentary involving Catherine was public, the disputes with royal commentators were public. And because those discussions were openly visible, critics found it difficult to believe that nobody involved was aware of the account's reputation.
So now they're emboldened. They have gone against everything that was decided at the Sandringham Agreement. They have gone against everything that they promised Queen Elizabeth they wouldn't do. And they are blatant about it. And yet still nothing seems to get done. But this is bullying. This is encouraging people to bully Catherine.
Regardless of where people stand on Meghan Markle, one thing has become clear. This discussion is no longer just about a gift. It has evolved into a broader debate about whether public actions and public messaging are fully aligned. And that's a conversation that doesn't appear to be fading anytime soon. As criticism continued to grow, royal commentators pointed to another factor that made the JTB controversy harder for some observers to dismiss as a one-time event. According to critics, this is not the first time a controversial Sussex supporter has appeared to receive attention, recognition, or access connected to Meghan and Harry. And that's where the story takes another interesting turn. Because when commentators began revisiting previous incidents, they highlighted several examples that they believe suggest a much larger pattern. One of the most frequently discussed cases involved a social media account known as Henry's Cousin. Several years ago, Harry and Meghan reportedly made personal contact with the account, which was already well known in royal social media circles. At the time, the account had attracted significant attention because of its online behavior and repeated confrontations with critics of the Sussexes.
Meghan knows exactly who is attacking William, Catherine, Charles, Camilla, and the royal family on her behalf, as the Sussex Squad. The only difference is that now she's not just aware of it, she's rewarding it.
That earlier example is now being revisited by some commentators as they compare it with the latest controversy surrounding JTB. According to royal commentators who closely followed the situation, the account's reputation was already widely known. The criticism directed at other users was visible. The disagreements were public. The online disputes were ongoing. That's why some critics expressed surprise when reports emerged suggesting that Harry and Meghan had personally made contact. For critics, the situation raised a difficult question. If the controversial behavior was already visible online, how was it not identified before that interaction reportedly took place? Then another debate emerged, this time involving a supporter known online as Zandy Sussex. The account became well known among royal followers for posting highly critical content about members of the royal family, particularly Catherine, Princess of Wales. Over time, it developed a reputation as one of the most vocal pro-Sussex accounts online. By itself, that wasn't unusual. The controversy arose because critics alleged that despite the account's history of heated online commentary, it still appeared to maintain a close connection to Sussex-related events and discussions. That situation fueled further accusations that certain online behavior was being overlooked when the criticism was directed at opponents of Meghan and Harry.
When Meghan and Prince Harry celebrated 8 years of marriage, on May the 19th, JTB reacted to the Duchess's previously unseen photograph of the couple sharing a kiss during their reception in a TikTok video. JTB said the black and white image is one of the sexiest wedding photos ever taken. In the clip that was captioned, the chemistry between Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, is undeniable.
Then came perhaps the most frequently debated figure of all, Christopher Boozy. For years, Boozy has been one of the most polarizing names in royal-related online discussions. He later appeared in Harry and Meghan's Netflix documentary. That appearance immediately revived debates that had already been ongoing for years. Critics argued that including such a controversial figure strengthened their belief that Harry and Meghan were more connected to certain online supporters than they publicly acknowledged. What makes the current situation different is that critics no longer view these examples as separate incidents. Instead, they are increasingly discussing them as parts of a broader pattern. A controversial supporter gains attention, questions are raised. Defenders argue there is no meaningful connection. Then another similar controversy appears, and another, and another. Whether that interpretation is fair remains heavily debated. But it helps explain why the reaction to the JTB story has become so intense. The Sussexes have repeatedly spoken about compassion. They have spoken about responsible online behavior. They have spoken about addressing harassment and negativity in digital spaces.
Once you could say it might have been a mistake, although this trial was so vile and so disgusting with their attacks that they did on people, against people's children, all sorts of things, that everybody knew about them. You wouldn't even have to search deeply on Twitter to find this person, but Harry and Meghan didn't know about it, and they gave this person a personal phone call.
Yet critics argue that controversies involving certain online supporters continue to surface with striking regularity. The result, according to those critics, is a growing credibility challenge. Not because everyone agrees with the criticism. Far from it, but because each new controversy encourages people to revisit older debates and unresolved questions. And once people begin linking those events together, the conversation expands far beyond any single incident. That's exactly what many observers say is happening right now. What started as a social media post about a reported gift package has grown into a much broader discussion about influence, accountability, and the relationship between public figures and the online communities that support them. For Meghan Markle, that may ultimately become the most challenging aspect of the entire controversy, because debates involving one supporter can eventually fade from public attention. Questions about a broader pattern are much harder to move past. At the center of all this is a question that continues to divide royal followers. Was this simply a harmless gesture toward a supporter, or was it something that carries greater significance?
Because she knows what it means to be royal. Okay? And trust me, the fact that she is royal and she doesn't back internet trolls means that she had thousands of people turning up on the streets of Italy. Meghan Markle had 10.
There's no dispute that Meghan Markle has every right to thank people who support her. Public figures receive encouragement every day, and expressing appreciation is not unusual. What has made this story so controversial is the identity of the person who reportedly received that appreciation. Because JTB was not an unknown account. His views were public. His posts were public. His criticism of Catherine, Princess of Wales, was public. His disputes with royal commentators were public. And that's why the reaction has been so strong. For critics, the controversy is not really about the gift itself. It's about what the gesture may appear to represent. They argue that when someone who regularly speaks about online responsibility and respectful behavior publicly acknowledges a figure associated with controversial online exchanges, it can create a mixed message. Supporters, however, see the situation very differently. They argue that Meghan cannot reasonably be held responsible for every opinion expressed by people who support her. In their view, critics are reading too much into a simple act of appreciation and turning it into a controversy larger than the facts justify.
In the past 6 months, JTB has endorsed creators calling out the Princess of Wales' mediocrity and taking aim at the royal family while spending hundreds of dollars on products from As Ever, including over $200 on an order of wine. I mean, what a loser.
That disagreement is unlikely to disappear anytime soon. But regardless of where people stand, one thing is clear. The story has revived several questions that have followed Meghan for years. Questions about online supporter communities. Questions about controversial voices on social media. Questions about who receives recognition, access, or acknowledgement. And questions about whether public messaging always aligns with public perceptions. For now, there are still more questions than answers. But what began as a single social media post has evolved into one of the most heavily discussed royal stories of the week. And with every new reaction, every resurfaced post, and every fresh round of commentary, the debate continues to grow. The royal family may never publicly respond. Meghan herself may choose not to address the criticism directly, but the conversation is already taking place. And judging by the strength of the reactions on all sides, it is a discussion that appears far from finished. Because in the world of royal headlines, public perception often carries just as much weight as the underlying facts. And right now, perceptions surrounding this controversy continue generating attention around the world. The only remaining question is what happens next. Subscribe to Hollywood Yesterday to stay updated on the latest developments.